That's all for now. I'm Lester Holt. Thanks for joining us.
More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Before every Olympic Games, there's always the panic about whether things are going to be ready and all the possible surprises. I think Brazil has been hit with a range of issues which is pretty much unprecedented.
The Zika virus.
Zika virus.
There will be a Rio de Janeiro before the Olympic Games, and there will be a better and new Rio de Janeiro after the Olympic Games.
The Olympics right now are on a crisis on at least 3 fronts.
Sewage, trash, garbage. This is a toilet.
We know that great efforts have been undertaken by the Brazilian authorities with regard to security.
But considering the Olympics and the price that we're going to pay for it, no good.
Good luck, Brazil, and see you soon.
If cities were entered in a beauty contest, this one would samba her way into the finals just about every time. How many places in the world can hope to compete with the spectacular beauty of the site of this year's Olympic Games, Rio de Janeiro? Good evening and welcome to Rio. I'm Devin Skillion. The Olympics are a first not only for Brazil, but for all of South America. And it is a powerful spotlight that awaits in early August. But what is that spotlight going to reveal? Just getting this far has been a grueling marathon in itself. You've had doctors and scientists urging that the Games be delayed or moved altogether. A citizenry that is still waiting for the promise of the Games to play out in their lives. We've got a government in basic free fall. In fact, we may have an impeachment that plays out right as we're lighting the torch. And a financial calamity declared just 7 weeks before the Games, threatening everything from security to health care. Should the Games be here? Is this what the traveling Olympic spirit is all about? Or are the Rio Games a 5-ring circus? The modern Olympic Games come with pre-installed worries for the host city. They just do. In Beijing, it was smog. In Vancouver, it was H1N1 flu. Even London had its issues with surface-to-air missiles positioned on downtown buildings, which troubled many citizens. But Rio, oh Rio, how much can you overlook? If you get past the Zika virus, can you overlook the raw sewage in Guanabara Bay? Yes, to answer your question, that is a condom among the other debris in the water. If you get past that, how about the finding of drug-resistant superbacteria on the city's beaches, likely dumped there in the sewage from a hospital?
Of course, the wastewater treatment plants are not prepared for the superbacteria because it's brand new, it's something new.
Do you look past the police telling tourists they can't possibly be expected to protect them during the Games? And that's up against the grimy pickpockets who are very excited about your upcoming visit to their city.
When it's time to go and steal, you always think these are the people with more money than those in the favela here.
Okay, if, and it's a big if, but if we can ignore the gunfire that rang around us 4 times during our visit, then can you get past the fact that police cars in Rio sit idle because they can't afford to put gas in? Can you get past all of that? It's a tall ask, but I'm getting ahead of myself. To ask if the Games should be in Rio de Janeiro is a rather complicated question. And digging for the answer will take us from the grandeur of Christ the Redeemer to the grit of the Rio favelas. From the ritzy beach at Copacabana to the panic-ridden corridors of the capital in Brasilia. From the optimism of the bright new shiny subway stations to the pessimism of the Rio governor who admitted recently that the Games could be a total failure. 7 years ago, the Games were awarded for the first time to a nation from South America. And why not? Gorgeous, vibrant, and churning at the time on a young but robust economy, Brazil looked like the hottest date at the dance.
Back in 2009, they had a stable democracy, the economy was flowering, And so, yes, everything they put in the bid made sense.
In fact, even for a first-timer, Brazil had already proven its ability to throw a world-class party. The annual Carnival means 2 million people in the streets of Rio every day. Yes, why not the Olympics here?
But how big a difference 7 years can make.
In just 7 years, Brazil went from a big yes to a hot mess. Plunged into a deep recession, all of a sudden, there was no money, and the Olympic bills just kept piling up. To many, an urgent situation seemed to lack, well, urgency.
So people historically ignore big issues because we have carnival, we have soccer, because of the sunshine, and so in a way, everything's come to a head now, and everybody's eyes are open to the reality of a lot of issues that were always there, weren't dealt with.
To borrow a little modern slang, to some, Rio was a Monet. Beautiful from a distance, but a bit of a mess in close-up. Yes, on paper, in a magazine, on video, how could you beat Rio de Janeiro? Unfortunately, that's largely how the decision was made. In an effort to clean up the chronically troubled International Olympic Committee, site visits were outlawed as they tried to stamp out the whining and dining culture of Olympic site selection.
On close inspection, Rio has many problems which the Olympics, if anything, have exacerbated rather than helped.
There are perfect storms, and then there is the bullseye hurricane, tornado, earthquake that seems to have arrived in Rio. 7 weeks before the games were to begin, the governor of Rio declared a financial calamity. That came a few days before body parts washed up on Copacabana Beach, not far from where the beach volleyball competition will be held. And that was shortly after a jaguar had to be shot and killed in a torch run celebration when it got loose from its handler. Shooting the mascot of the Brazilian Olympic team? The metaphor was hard to miss. And behind the chaos, something else seemed missing.
It doesn't feel ready. I think there's still a lot of work to be done to generate an Olympic buzz.
Yes, where is the buzz? Rio is always vibrant, but the Olympic spirit? Conspicuously absent.
Most of the people are not happy about it, being a Brazilian. We had many problems already with the World Cup, and I think having the Olympics coming, it's just like another huge debt for the country. Yeah.
In fact, even those who do get to spend Rio's Olympic money have to take pause.
Brazil, I mean, we're in a kind of a financial crisis, everybody knows. So I think it wouldn't be fair to spend the money that London spent in their ceremony.
The opening ceremonies have, of course, become a pressure-packed, no-holds-barred explosion of excess and spectacle. Sounds tailor-made for a city that goes full spectacle every year with Carnival, but not this time. Celebrated film director Fernando Meirelles is juggling the needs of the moment with the needs of those outside the stadium.
We're not complaining, because I guess I would be ashamed to waste like what London spent in a country where we need sanitation, right? Where education needs money.
And yet, against all that.
But today, the final countdown for the first ever Olympic Games in South America, Rio 2016, starts.
It seemed a little jarring, even maybe disconnected to some, to see this man wearing such a wide smile. Thomas Bach is the head of the International Olympic Committee. Understandably, glum despair wouldn't do his games any good. He has to be the cheerleader. But in my conversation with him, you'd swear he had nary a care in the world. If you have athletes and spectators expressing concern about going, that's really the worst thing for the games, isn't it? You need people to participate and you need people to watch.
The athletes know they will participate and they will watch. 77 countries represented here, exchanging information on security. So we have confidence in the Brazilian authorities that they will do everything what is necessary to have great Olympic Games here in Rio.
As I mentioned to people that I was leaving for Rio, it was as reliable as the sunrise. People invariably would tell me, make sure you take bug spray, don't get bit by a mosquito, or some variation on don't come back with the Zika virus. Well, if we're so worried about the Zika virus, why isn't Rio? That's next.
4.
It looks tropical, but this is actually a semi-tropical climate. And now that it's wintertime, yes, this is what winter looks like. It's very comfortable. And for Brazilians, it means that the worries about mosquitoes aren't nearly as acute as they were in, say, January. In fact, it would seem that you're far more worried about catching the Zika virus than just about anybody who lives here. When the reports first began to surface, Zika seemed just another in a long line of interchangeable flus and viruses. But soon, the pictures arrived. Heartbreaking pictures of babies born with abnormally small heads, victims of microcephaly, born to mothers who'd contracted Zika. And suddenly, Zika seemed a very different, very dangerous thing.
Everything we look at with this virus seems to be a bit scarier than we initially thought.
Believe it or not, there is actually an official insect repellent supplier for the Rio Games. It's SC Johnson, makers of Off. The stuff will be given to the athletes, the volunteers, the staff, and the media covering the games. In fact, we took good old American Deep Woods Off with us to Rio to guard against Zika. And frankly, we felt a little silly. Most every conversation I had with Brazilians about the Zika virus went like this one with Alessandra Turpins, who lives in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, the Zika is here, I guess. That's what I heard as well. But you just have to wear some, how to say that? Insect repellent.
Do you put on insect repellent?
No. Not actually.
I haven't met one Brazilian who admits to putting on insect repellent.
No, it's not a worry. People here are not concerned. Unless they're pregnant.
Even Wayne State professor Ollie Johnson, he knows the foreign take on Zika, but he's fallen in like a local.
Yes, I live here in Rio. It's not a major concern. It's not perceived as a major concern. It was initially associated with the Northeast and other parts of the country. So people do feel safe here, and the authorities have assured us that we don't have that much to worry about.
About the only person I met who was concerned about Zika at all was Gylmar Lopez, who lives in the favela of Morro dos Cabritos. He's a community activist in the favela, and he alone told me about trying to make sure the mosquito population was under control in his neighborhood.
You don't worry about Zika every day, though. I don't get the idea. Or do you? Or chikungunya, or dengue.
Well, we think about it, but we don't stop our lives because of it. We fight.
Yeah.
I fight. Every day I don't come out of my home think, oh my God, I need to clean. I'm not a neurotic person, but that is a concern.
The truth is the people who live in Rio have plenty of worries, and Zika is just one of them, not anywhere close to being the most prominent.
When you live with the threat all the time, you have to live with the threat all the time. You know, at some point, you're probably going to get, so you just kind of normalize it, I think, in a way that you don't if you're from outside.
That outside perspective has been a real point of frustration for Rio's Olympic team.
It's wrong. There's no reason for that. Cambridge University provided a study that's a chance for you getting Zika in the winter in Rio is 1 to 1 million. So there's no reason for that. It's been blown out of proportion.
We watched some of the mosquito eradication efforts along this clogged canal, which meant standing water, just as the mosquitoes like it. But getting rid of all of the mosquitoes is as tall an order as it sounds, especially in a mosquito paradise like Brazil. And that's why for all of the snakes, crocodiles, and sharks in the world, the most deadly creature remains the mosquito.
We've seen some efforts at reducing the mosquito population, but I mean, can you really control mosquitoes in a place like Rio?
Yeah, it's really difficult, yeah.
Which is the key issue, and one that can be tough to get your mind around when you land in Rio. The seasons are flipped here in the Southern Hemisphere. Yes, the Summer Olympic Games will be played out in the dead of the Brazilian winter. Okay, dead of winter might be pushing it. Winter in Rio means temperatures in the 60s and 70s, but that relative drop in temperature has a big effect on the mosquito population.
So we had this group of more than 100 scientists and biologists sign a letter to the WHO recommending that the Olympics be either moved or delayed. Do you agree with that?
No, we don't. Nobody's saying there is no risk of people coming here and getting the virus, so there is a risk. But we don't think it's reason to postpone the games.
But perhaps the baby pictures are just too much. Zika remains a chief concern of many, and several high-profile figures are sending their regrets. The Today Show's Savannah Guthrie is pregnant. NBC will have to get along without her. But what if you're a long jumper, or a pole vaulter, or a wrestler? Can you skip the only real showcase your sport gets, or do you just have to risk it? Aphrodite Zaders is a Dutch sailor.
For us, it's not a very big risk. Of course, if we get the Zika virus, you can get sick, and meaning having a very bad week. But yeah, this is a risk. We take precautions, so we are really clean. We always clean our hands, and we have a very strict infection protocol in our team. But yeah, it's also something that we cannot control. Control the controllables.
Of course, as a sailor, she's got more infection worries than just Zika, like the water in which she'll be sailing. More on that a little later. But are we controlling the controllables, or might we be dipping into pioneer territory?
Zika is really new to us. Do you think we really understand it and know it well enough to make recommendations about it? Do we understand Zika?
Yeah, this is a good question, and there's a lot of activity in research right now, so we're trying to understand.
I'm going to take every precaution necessary. I'm not even sure I'm going to be leaving the hotel room.
But Zika is just one piece of a very complex puzzle of worry here in Rio. In just a minute, we'll peel back more of the very large onion that is Brazil when we continue with the Rio Games of Five-Ring Circus. Breathtakingly beautiful, but brutally ugly when it comes to violent crime. Some have wondered if worries over personal safety might keep spectators at home during the Olympics. Of the 50 cities in the world with the highest per capita murder rates, 22 of those cities are in Brazil. But if you ask the average Brazilian about where that violence comes from, they will often point to those who were sworn to stop it, the police.
The police have an outrageous, terrible record of violence against black youth in Rio. And
Ollie Johnson is a professor of African American studies at Wayne State, but he's been living in Rio while on sabbatical.
Criminal violence, drug organizations, and drug trafficking are major problems in Rio and other cities in Brazil. And the community that suffers the most, obviously, are poor communities, communities that live in the favelas and the shanty towns. And the violence and crime is not only criminal organizations fighting each other, but the police coming into the communities and repressing those communities, often in an abusive way. And that just adds another layer of police brutality.
Shortly after the games were awarded to Rio, what's known as the pacification program began. A massive push by police into the poor areas of Rio to crack down on crime in the favelas. After some early success, some fear the cure is now worse than the disease.
Amnesty International came out with a report recently that found 1 in 5 homicides in Brazil is carried out by security officials. So in a weird way, we probably need somebody to be watching the watchers a little bit more carefully as well. So when you hear there'll be 85,000 security officials on hand for the Olympics, that might be grounds for pause more than just relief.
And yet, isn't that who you're counting on to keep the game safe? That sign that was waiting for you at the airport, the Welcome to Hell sign, that was hoisted by policemen and firefighters who were saying if they don't get paid, they can't really help you. Their helicopters have been grounded, half the police cars are idled, and their paychecks are being delayed. The Rio police had even famously had to ask for donations of toilet paper. But not paying or underpaying police helps give rise to one of Brazil's defining scourges. There is astonishing agreement among Brazilians on a number of things, and one of them is about the source of so many of Brazil's problems.
There is only one word for it, it's corruption.
Full throttle corruption.
Corruption's, unfortunately, it's part of the culture.
To understand Brazil, it helps to understand the term jeitinho.
It means like the little way. It's the way of getting round an obstacle.
In 2004, an astonishing swindle began deep inside Petrobras, Brazil's state-run oil and energy Goliath. It's really hard to find a U.S. equivalent, but imagine Americans learning that General Motors and elected politicians had teamed up on a $5 billion hustle, all built on phony bids ridiculous overcharges, shrink-wrapped cash, and bribes running the gamut from yachts to prostitutes. And let's say it reached all the way up to a former president. Dozens of politicians and executives have been arrested in the last 2 years through an investigation known as Operation Car Wash. Because yes, some of the money was actually laundered through a car wash.
This investigation has revealed a vast scheme of kickbacks involving at least 50 serving politicians, as well as many of Brazil's top business leaders.
For Brazilians, it has laid bare the truth that they've all known too well. The greased palm, the kickback, the high-level jeitinho has been running the country into the ground.
This is the latest case, and it's the deepest case. And so that, in that way, it's positive because all, the corruption is being brought to light. Now, unfortunately, the corruption being brought to light is what set off the impeachment scandal, because there was, there are attempts by certain groups to stop these proceedings. So yeah, it's a big long-term process.
Yes, let's not forget the impeachment hearings, which actually don't involve Petrobras, at least not directly. President Gylmar Lopez is accused of hiding the depths of Brazil's financial crisis, and now she's on the sidelines while the Brazilian Senate arranges impeachment proceedings. And in Brazil, taking it to the streets is practically a national pastime.
The last year in Brazil more generally, there have been more people that have hit the streets in protest than in the rest of the world combined.
And in fact, protests are already scheduled for the day of the opening ceremonies. One of the reasons why tourists can suddenly find themselves in a tight spot is the proximity of those tight spots to the prime real estate of Rio.
So what's the real gap between the first and third worlds in Rio? Well, jarringly, it's all of about 200 yards. On this side, these beautiful luxury condos, they're gorgeous and they stretch all the way down to the ocean. But on this side of the footbridge, you have Hacienda, said to be the most densely populated favela in all of Latin America.
Yes, it's outrageous. It's one of the paradoxes, one of the contradictions of life in Rio, but you can have some of the most expensive real estate in the world 100 feet from some of the poorest communities in the country. But unfortunately, that's an ongoing reality and ongoing.
Our safety never seemed in doubt while we walked the beaches of Copacabana or Ipanema, nor did it feel tested in the Olympic Park, though to be fair, it wasn't exactly hopping with people yet, mostly workers and journalists. No, the moments when we came up against the menacing side of Rio were when we wandered into neighborhoods, which, as you've seen, can bump up right against a favela. And it also happened at a research university as we were scouting a spot for an interview. And once we had pulled over to shoot video of a heavily polluted swamp, complete with vultures hanging around. Now, I want to be clear, I am not sure that we were ever in imminent danger. No one seemed to be shooting at us. But as I often point out, most of the people firing weapons in urban violence aren't generally spending a lot of time at the shooting range. And when our security man Fernando said it was time to go, we listened. But many of the crime issues for travelers to Rio don't involve a weapon at all, unless you count the lithe fingers of Rio's petty thieves. Amateur video shows a very busy and aggressive army of rogue street bandits. Does any of this mean you'd be foolish to attend the Rio Games? Absolutely not. Rio hosts an enormous load of tourists every year, many of whom return again and again. And those 22 Brazilian cities with the highest murder rates don't actually include Rio, where the per capita murder rate is high, but not as high as in St. Louis, Missouri, or Gary, Indiana, or Detroit, Michigan. But what about worries about terrorism? An overwhelmingly Catholic city with its enormous Christ the Redeemer watching over Rio, might the Games be a target for ISIS or its lone wolf disciples? That's a question I hope to ask the chief of security for the Rio Games, but without explanation, our interview was canceled just before it was to happen. The explanation came several hours later when the governor of the state of Rio declared a financial calamity and warned that without an infusion of cash from the federal government, Rio could be facing a total collapse in public security, health, education, transport, and environmental management, all of which I would note were already in precarious shape. Cities that host the Olympics make a lot of promises to try and attract the Games, but how far can those promises really reach?
This really was our opportunity for the kinds of investments people need, and they weren't made.
Can they make it into the far reaches of Rio's famous favelas? That's next as we continue from Brazil.
On the move, you wake up to Local 4 News today.
The 1976 Winter Olympic Games were awarded to Denver, Colorado. Yes, remember the Denver Olympics? No, you don't, because the people of Colorado voted down the bills that would have paid for the big build-out, and instead the Games went to Innsbruck, Austria, which had hosted the Games 12 years before. Yes, some actually turned the Games down, but for many, it's just too much to resist. The Olympic Games. For the host city, what's not to love? Hundreds of thousands of tourists, televised coverage that amounts to a 2-week commercial for your city seen all over the world, and the world's premier sporting event that comes loaded with the promise of infrastructure improvements and additions that will stand long after the Games are over. Right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, that's what they market.
Teresa Williamson runs the influential website Rio on Watch, which focuses on life in Rio's favelas.
There was tons of hope. It was palpable. And now there's almost the opposite, a sense of frustration and the sense of the city having lost this opportunity to invest in things that really mattered.
77,000 Rio residents were forced out of their homes to make way for Olympic structures. Critics say the added subway lines really mostly benefit the wealthiest neighborhoods instead of being transformative for those that are transit-starved. And most of the promised cleanups of the waterways, well, those haven't really happened.
And there's a long list of promises that were ignored or that they actually now they say they weren't promises, but they were in the beginning.
But where was the promise for those living on Rio's sprawling fringes? The favelas, where almost a quarter of the Rio population lives. To find out meant going against the advice of many, and we had already been more than close enough to the gunfire that can burst into or out of the favelas. But it is such the Rio story. It is part of the story that is widely misunderstood. The very word itself has become synonymous with slum, and that's not really accurate.
There is a debate as to whether you can use the word slum or whether you can use the word favela. Some advocates who claim that favelas are actually an ingenious solution to Brazil's housing shortage think the word shouldn't be stigmatized. Other people say, well, there's nothing particularly special about Brazil's shanty towns and slums.
There are more than 1,000 favelas stacked onto Rio's hillsides.
Really what this is about, favelas are about the lack of government. So the government never came in, the government never provided affordable housing, the government never provided adequate infrastructure. Now all favelas in Rio now have some level of infrastructure. You know, they all have water piped into homes, they all have some level of sanitation, electricity, they all have electricity, water. So if somebody has a child, they add a room on their house. If their children grow up, they add a floor. If they start a business, they move, you know, if they get unemployed, they start a business downstairs and move upstairs. That level of kind of versatility, the ability of people to improve their lives within that context is actually pretty extensive.
When I told Teresa we had been advised, actually ordered would be more accurate, to stay out of the favelas due to an uptick in violence, she laughed. She's heard it before, all the favelas must be the same, and that's not at all true. So she introduced us to Gylmar Lopez. Gylmar left Rio and spent 15 years in London, but now he's back, leading tours into the favela where he was born and that he again calls home. So we shared a cab to Morro de Cabritos. It's kind of a mountain goat trail to get to the entrance of Cabritos, tucked right between Christ the Redeemer and Copacabana. It was photographer Tim Pamplin who asked the question I too was wondering.
Is there shooting in here?
Yes.
How? Yeah, how frequent?
Well, depends how frequent the police try to confront the situation. Yeah. Especially this, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying they should find the right moments to do things. They should think about first in the population safe. When the police come to shooting at 8 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon is terrible because there's a lot of people coming in and out, and is a lot of kids going to the school and out, you know, so they need to plan it.
We took Gylmar's tour, agreeing to stop recording anytime he gave us the sign, as carrying a TV camera into a favela can be seen as a provocative act with tensions as they are. It led me to ask Gylmar if he has more to fear from the favela criminals or the police, and he said it's basically a wash.
The only thing can bring trouble is when there is a confrontation and I'm passing in the middle. But if it's the police, I pass for them, there is no problem. If it's a criminal, I pass for them, there is no problem.
But you see them as the same, basically, then, as the same threat in your life.
Yeah, it's not much better now. It's not much better now.
Those are your choices. It was a fascinating walk through the complicated aneurysm of paths and stairways. You heard Bruce Douglas say a favela is either a slum or an ingenious piece of problem solving. Cabritos felt very much the latter. Not much unused space, people and homes packed into nooks and crannies and some crazy verticals, avocados overhead and homegrown medicine underfoot.
You see medicine, this is herbs, called cow's foot.
Cow's foot?
Yeah, it's good for your belly. This is what favela is, no?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a normal place, it's a village.
We squeezed past rooms where we could hear and see Formula One racing on satellite TV, past a store and a restaurant, a church, a community center. In fact, on this day, vision tests were being offered along with discount eyeglasses. A half dozen times or so, Gylmar gave us the sign to lower the camera as we passed those who might not crave publicity. But even those we passed who were brandishing weapons seemed to have no problem with our presence. The pacification police were well down the hill, meaning we avoided Gylmar's worst-case scenario of finding yourself between the gunman and the police. But in Cabritos, did I see the reach of the Olympic Games? Did it make one bit of difference here that the Olympic Games would be held just a few miles away? No, I guess I can't say I could see that. And neither does Gylmar.
The Olympic is a very exclusive event and very expensive too. Today, Brazil is diving economically talking. People are concerned how they can pay their bills and how they can get food home. The majority of people that I know is not thinking about going to watch the sport in the Olympics.
But it would be inaccurate to say that the citizens of Rio are completely disengaged from the Games. Despite the frustrations with what the Games haven't done, there is an understandable pride in showing off this extraordinary locale to the rest of the world. And while we've chronicled a fair amount of despair, there is something so festive built into being a carioca, as the citizens of Rio are known. This is the neighborhood of Lapa, and we found a roaring good time, even though it came on an auspicious evening. Just a few hours ago, they announced that Rio is in a crisis state financially.
Yes, I know.
Does that matter, or does that hurt a party like this?
Oh, it hurts our, patriotic feeling,
yeah.
but not the party. I think when we do the party, it doesn't matter what, but we are suffering a little bit because of all this political situation, but we like to enjoy life, so we are doing that because we believe in our country and we believe in our city.
A lot of Brazilians will tell you that their political leaders are just dirty, but that is not the kind of dirty that is worrying a lot of world-class athletes.
Sewage, trash, garbage. This is a toilet.
When we return, what is in the bay? More from Rio in just a moment.
The Toyota.
Water is almost synonymous with Rio de Janeiro. The postcards, the film footage, and most of the images that are dancing in your mind right now probably involve the beautiful beaches like Copacabana and Ipanema. But water is at the center of the calls for help from one very frustrated biologist.
Mario Moscatelli can seem like the loneliest guy on the planet. He's certainly among the most frustrated. The biologist has been sounding the alarm about Guanabara Bay for years. Surely someone would finally listen with the Olympic Games approaching.
I am very, very upset with this situation because I had a big hope in Olympic Games and the improvement.
This was the opportunity, right?
Yes.
The moment.
We lost it.
But with the games just about here, Mario can only stare at the water he knows all too well. More than 300 million gallons of raw sewage flows into Guanabara Bay every single day, the equivalent of almost 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools every day. The Rio Olympic Committee promised the IOC they'd get 80% of the water pollution cleaned up. It hasn't happened, not even close.
Sewage, trash, garbage. This is a toilet.
And a junkyard, complete with vultures. It was while we were shooting this swampy mess that another kind of shooting broke out, which seemed to complete the dystopic picture as we hustled away. I'm looking at the exact spot where the sewage flows into the bay. It is, well, nasty. And yet Mario tells me it's actually better today. That doesn't seem to speak well for whatever he's comparing it to. But like any big body of water, the conditions change constantly. And Mario says when it's time for the events to be held, they'll need everything to break just right.
If the tide is low, if it's raining, and if the winds come from the outside of the bay, not even Jesus can do anything about it.
Mario figures there's 100 years worth of sewage at the bottom of the bay. He says he was sure the Olympics would finally be the catalyst these waters have so desperately needed, but he was wrong.
The Rio metropolis in the 21st century is living a reality that from the 80th century, which is basically using the its waters as a toilet to receive its sewage.
It's just been announced the sailors for the United States team will be wearing close-fitting unisuits treated with an antibacterial. But can that possibly be enough? Some health experts say swallowing 3 teaspoons of this water would mean a 99% chance of an infection. 3 teaspoons? That's laughable to a competitive sailor. Bruno Bethlehem is a competitive sailor, a member of the Brazilian team. He's heard all of the panic, but he doesn't believe it's warranted.
For me, I'm sailing here for 30 years and I have never had any problem with healthy caused by the quality of the water in the Guanabara Bay, so I think it will not be a problem for the guys.
Some have suggested longer exposure to the water might help build up an immunity to it, and many teams have been training in it for several years. We met Aphrodite Zeters of the Netherlands earlier. She's not all that worried.
I think there are two sides in the story. The one side is they're speaking about the quality of the water, but to be honest, when I'm inside, I don't really feel or see a lot. I mean, there are some days, especially if it's raining, that there is more rubbish on the water. Sailing and technically wise, it's a perfect bay because you have different kind of conditions and you have a lot of factors that play as a current and the wind and the mountain, so it's actually very nice to sail. And yeah, it's unfortunate if it is not very clean sometimes, but it's something that we as sailors cannot control.
But in the pre-Olympic competitions, there have been a number of illnesses reported: fevers, vomiting, diarrhea. And Eric Heil of the German sailing team ended up the unwitting poster boy for the whole mess, hospitalized with an ugly leg infection. It hit the internet, which meant it had the rare distinction of being both bacterial and viral. There are other things in the water. In one of those pre-Olympic events, a boat capsized, sending the crew into the water after hitting something. The captain said he thinks it was a sofa. But discarded furniture is actually one of the least frightening things you might find.
Depending on weather conditions, again, you can find fridges, you can find people, you can find rests of people, you can find animals, rests of animals, and a lot of domestic garbage.
Wait, go back. Bodies? And body parts? From where?
Most of the rivers that flow to Guanabara Bay they pass by favelas. And in favelas, you have local law, you don't have security, they have their own law. And sometimes when people are killed there, the bodies are thrown.
And the problems don't stop with the infamous bay. They also extend to some of the famous beaches that are Rio's signature destinations. A year of testing has turned up evidence of drug-resistant superbacteria in the water. These are microbes usually only found in hospitals, and it's assumed that's exactly where they came from.
We believe that through hospital sewage, it goes to the municipal sewage, and it gets to the Guanabara Bay or through other rivers, and it finally gets to the beach.
There is an irony at work here. Brazilians are obsessed with personal hygiene. You walk through a big crowd and you smell a lot of soap and shampoo and cologne. And they may shower 3 or 4 times a day, but too often the water from those showers is part of what runs right into the bay.
The embarrassment's pretty huge. Everybody here is now talking about it. You know, historically, they don't do a lot about sanitation because it doesn't yield votes.
Which has long been the belief of Mario Moscatelli. In fact, he doesn't buy the financial crisis as an excuse. Like so many others in Brazil, he watches the money fly around in all the wrong places.
We spent in last 20 years $2 billion in recovery projects. And the result, impunity, impunity, impunity.
That's frustrating.
Yes. Imagine.
I'm telling you.
Imagine.
Mario's marathon doesn't end with the games. He'll keep fighting, but he does know a window has closed.
Yes, upset, tired, and so I am very, very upset with this whole situation.
The games have been a lot to ask of Rio, but are they too much to ask of any city in this day and age? The existential questions for the modern Olympiad next from Rio. And welcome back to Rio. Brazil has spent billions and billions of dollars getting ready for an event that is going to last all of 2 weeks. Billions of dollars that many would suggest Brazil doesn't have to spend. But then again, who does have billions of dollars to spend on today's Olympics? The idea seemed to be that whatever the cost overruns may be, the Olympic Games pay for themselves. The exposure, the public works improvements, the tourism dollars, the legacy value.
All the investments, we think about what we are going to leave to our people, and we are doing that with that idea. We need to leave the investment for the people.
Greece might beg to differ. There's a very real case to be made that the costs of the 2004 Games in Athens helped nudge Greece over the edge into the economic collapse that still vibrates today.
One activist I interviewed in Vancouver during the Vancouver 2010 Olympics told me that the Olympics are a corporate franchise that you buy with public money.
The Winter Games in particular are having a difficult time attracting suitors. The 2022 Winter Games are going to be held in Beijing, hardly synonymous with a winter wonderland. They'll be relying on man-made snow for the alpine events. And even with that imperfect solution, Beijing beat out Almaty, Kazakhstan, after Oslo, Stockholm, and Krakow withdrew their bids. A 2012 Dutch study suggested that in the future, only non-democratic nations would be willing to bid on the Games. And the early returns suggest it is so. Fewer and fewer cities are even getting into the running, as Rio wonders if it was all that great a fit in the first place.
Tourists that will go to the Olympics often are not interested in the city itself as much as the Olympics. And so to them, it probably doesn't even matter where the Olympics are held. And so it's all very ironic because these huge investments, in Rio we're talking about some $20 billion have been invested in these games, but in investments that aren't necessarily going to benefit the population.
As for the rise in tourism, plainly some cities don't need it. Both London and Beijing actually hosted fewer tourists the summer of the Games than they did the summer before without them. It's an extraordinary amount of work for a pretty short payoff. This entire arena was built to host 2 events during the Olympics and then 1 event during the Paralympics, and then what?
Well, the idea is that this is supposed to become part of an elite athletic training facility, but as many other Olympic cities have found, finding post-usage for their facilities has proved a tall order. In fact, Brazil already knows the words to that song. The 2014 World Cup left the country with a bunch of new soccer stadiums that they're struggling to figure out how to use. And so it may be after the Olympics. Rio has actually tried to address the cost issue by demanding more private money come into the equation, but that comes with its own problems. Worries about cronyism and favoritism. A billionaire developer is building the Olympic golf course and has been allowed to surround it with 140 condominiums, which will start at $2 million apiece.
So it doesn't take a math whiz to realize that this is an incredible gift-wrapped present from the Rio de Janeiro mayor, Eduardo Paes, for this developer. He's going to walk away with millions.
There is a crisis in international sports just now. Mistrust of the IOC is perhaps only exceeded by the mistrust of FIFA, World Soccer's governing body. And doping scandals are proving to be a powerful corrosive that leads to urine and blood test indignity in one direction and shameless fraud in the other. Does our rabid devotion to sport override all of it? Or do we near a breaking point? Is it time for real change? Some have suggested that the Olympics should rotate among a handful of Olympic cities. Others think the Games should just stay in one city, like their ancestral home in Greece.
There's not a lot of evidence that the people of Athens are that keen on it. So when you hear people saying, oh, we should just put the Summer Olympics in Athens permanently, I would pause there. I'm not in favor of that.
But come rain or shine, or dirty water, or the rogue mosquito, or even an impeachment, the Rio Games will go on, with inarguably one of the most stunning backdrops it's ever had. All of the hand-wringing over what Rio is and is not will strike some around the world as elitism, the surest sign that the Games aren't really for everyone, only for nations that are willing to fit into a box, one that's always been too stuffy for Rio. The Olympics are, almost by definition, this very orderly 2 weeks, and yet what attracts a lot of people to Rio is its messiness. It's not orderly.
Exactly. Now, Rio is a really good example of that because it's a city that's famous for its popular culture, its informality, people, being out in the streets and kind of just this flexible nature of the city, and that's the opposite of what the Olympics needs to provide for there to be a sense of safety and schedule and for the proper carrying out of the games.
And in the end, that very human instinct kicks in for hope, that somehow it all works out. From the art gallery near a favela.
The cultural interchange will be very important for the city. He's very excited to hear that. In his opinion, it's the main legacy that the city is going to have.
Even to Gylmar in the favela of Cabritos.
Overall, I think the visibility that the Olympics can give to Rio de Janeiro can benefit as well us.
To the vendors on the beach hoping for a surge in sales of their delicious frozen acai. To people like Felipe Silva, who looks like an Olympian himself.
We have this beach, a lot of people smiling. The Brazilian way is good. Everywhere we'll see the best part of Rio.
You don't look worried.
No, I'm not worried. I live here. I'm happy here.
So the circus will pack up its tent and its acrobats and its clowns and move on. And 4 years from now, Tokyo will wrestle with its own 5 rings, its own challenges, and its own questions about whether it's all worth it. Is it worth it for Rio? Well, we won't know. We can't know for some time. But here, they'll continue to rely on a well-worn Brazilian phrase. Amanhã será outro dia. Tomorrow is another day. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. With photographer Tim Pamplin and producer Ro Coppola, I'm Devin Skillion. A very good night from Rio.